Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to The Explainer, guys. Today we're breaking down the ultimate Coca-Cola send-off match. Picture this, a sun-drenched Soldier Field right in downtown Chicago, an absolutely historic venue, and a crowd that was just whipped up into a complete frenzy. And why wouldn't they be? There were literally just 90 minutes of action left before the World Cup kicks off for the United States. This was it, the final, high-stakes test against a four-time world champion in Germany. It was a massive, massive moment on home soil, a true history-making stage unlike anything these guys have experienced before. So we're going to unpack exactly what went down in this 2-1 defeat and what it all means for the U.S. men's national team.
You know, to really get a feel for the atmosphere of this match, you kind of have to grasp the sheer emotional weight of the moment. Like the broadcasters noted, hosting a World Cup is, well, it's transformative. They were actually recalling being 13 years old the last time the tournament was on home turf, and they pointed out that it literally changed their lives forever. It sparked dreams, entire careers in the sport, and that is exactly the pressure cooker these two teams were stepping into. These players, they aren't just running through some friendly exhibition. They have the chance to change millions of lives of kids who are watching this very moment. Kids daring to dream about what soccer could mean for them. That's the immense stage that was set at Soldier Field.
Now, both of these teams, they came into Chicago with some serious wind in their sails. The U.S. squad arrived fresh off a super gritty 3-2 victory against Senegal just a week prior. And meanwhile, the German powerhouse had just totally dismantled Finland with a commanding 4-0 win before leaving Munich last Sunday. So we had two squads in excellent form, clashing on a sunny afternoon with Mauricio Pochettino looking to finalize his ultimate game plan just 6 short days before the tournament officially begins. I mean, it was a heavyweight clash right from the opening whistle.
Act 1, the early shock. And yeah, it was a fairly disastrous opening.
But before we get into the tactical nitty-gritty, let's just quickly map out the emotional roller coaster we're about to break down. The match essentially played out in 3 distinct phases. First, an incredibly early shock in the 2nd minute with a goal from Kai Havertz. Then, a massive momentum shift mid-match that led to an Antonee Robinson equalizer. And finally, a super dramatic, tension-filled final 20 minutes, culminating in a Leroy Sané game winner. Keep that roadmap in mind as we analyze the power shifts on the pitch.
Okay, so literally inside of 2 minutes, Germany is in front. How did that happen? Well, Leroy Sané moved away and plugged this beautiful ball in toward the 6-yard box. But honestly, the tactical brilliance here is entirely from Kai Havertz. He used this incredibly deceptive, slow approach, like a slow gait and walk-up that made it look like he wasn't even going to hit it on target. And the U.S. goalkeeper, Matt Turner, he got caught cheating completely off his line. Because Havertz is so good in the air and the keeper was caught out of position, it was just too easy. A really poor start for sure, and an immediate wake-up call for the U.S.
Which brings us to Act 2, the fight back. Sustained U.S. pressure.
Now, a lesser team might have just folded after an opening like that, right? But the U.S. didn't panic. They actually established some real sustained pressure. First, Christian Pulisic just took control. He started floating, finding the game, twisting and turning, and he forced wave after wave of corners. I mean, they racked up double-digit corners in this match. The pressure was totally relentless. And finally, after an outswinging corner, the ball gets cleared, but it drops right onto the edge of the box, and that's at the perfect stage for step 3. Antonee Robinson stepping up to unleash an absolute rocket.
You cannot hit a ball any sweeter than this. The broadcasters were just in absolute awe. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated magic that tied the game up. And honestly, the reaction from the players, like Weston McKennie's pure shock and Fuller and Balogun celebrating, that told you everything you needed to know. It was a breathtaking strike from distance that injected massive life right back into Soldier Field. The U.S. had weathered that early storm, and they proved they really belonged out there on that pitch.
All right, moving into Act 3, the heavyweight finish, the final stretch.
With a little over 20 minutes remaining, Germany reclaims the lead. And it wasn't just a lucky break, guys. It was precision mixed with a brutal deflection. Sané took an incredible first touch off a layup right in the middle of the box. He rifled a very hard, compact shot that actually went right through Robinson's legs and took a deflection. And man, that deflection was the killer. It took some pace off the ball, sure, but it forced the U.S. keeper to desperately try and reset his feet. It was just impossible to clean up. And just like that, Germany was back in front.
As the clock ticked down into stoppage time, the tension was palpable. I mean, it reached an absolute boiling point. Tim Weah, coming in at full speed, executed a really hard, crunching challenge on Germany's David Raum. Immediately, the German players took exception. Jonathan Tah got right in Weah's face, and a massive physical altercation just erupted on the pitch. The referee had to step in, issuing yellow cards as players from both sides were clashing. It was gritty, it was aggressive, and it showed exactly how badly both of these teams wanted to set the tone heading into the actual tournament.
Now, to really contextualize that intense stoppage time fight, we kind of have to look at the manager, Mauricio Pochettino. As the broadcast noted, there are some hard-crunching tackles in his era. Pochettino is a famously no-nonsense manager who played alongside aggressive Argentine defenders himself. Under his watch, hard-crunching challenges aren't just expected, they're practically required. If a player were to sit down and complain about a tough tackle, they'd be considered an embarrassment to their own team. So that late-game grit, even with the yellow cards, is a direct reflection of the physical, unyielding identity Pochettino is instilling in the squad.
So, ready for the tournament? It was the ultimate test.
U.S. men's national team ultimately fell 2-1, which leaves us with a pretty stark contrast to think about. On one hand, you have the deeply concerning sloppy starts, getting caught off guard inside of 2 minutes by Kai Havertz just due to a lack of awareness from the goalkeeper. That's a massive red flag. You simply cannot afford those lapses on the World Cup stage. But, on the other hand, you have these spectacular responses. The team didn't fold. They showed incredible resilience, highlighted by Antonee Robinson's world-class strike and that sheer physical pushback in stoppage time. They proved, without a doubt, that they have the grit and the talent to compete with absolutely anyone in the world.
Which leaves us with this final, burning question. Can the U.S. turn the lessons learned from this 2-1 defeat into a really deep World Cup run, starting this Friday against Paraguay? They've felt the pressure, they've battled the heavyweights, and now the real test begins on home soil. Thank you so much for joining me to break down this explainer of an incredible send-off match. Definitely keep this tactical breakdown in mind when that whistle blows on Friday.